Good morning. I'm Nasser from Indira Gandhi Institute of Dental Science, and my topic for today is control of pandemics. We are going to discuss about the most virulent pandemics: plague, smallpox, Spanish flu, cholera. Although the first reaction is usually panic, epidemics should be addressed systematically. How we respond depends on mortality severity, treatment available, vaccines availability, source of transmission, route, and duration of transmission. The plague pandemic. Plague was caused by Yersinia pestis. It was transmitted to people when bitten by fleas carried by rodents. Most famous for the 13th century outbreak called the Black Death. Plague bacteria actually caused three different forms of disease. Most common is the bubonic plague, when these bacteria target the lymphatic system. Between 2 and 6 days, infected victims get high fever, headache, and vomiting. Plus, they get swollen lymph nodes called buboes, which gives the plague its name. This plague, if left untreated, can develop into another form if the bacteria infect the bloodstream, called septicemic plague. They can cause clots that keep the blood from reaching tissue, which turn black when they die. Or if these microbes infect the lungs, it's called pneumonic plague. This can lead to bloody cough and rapid death and transmit the plague through tiny droplets in the air. Nowadays, any form of plague can be cured by antibiotics. In those days, in 13th century, no one knew what caused it. At this point of history, the real method of disease transmission were not yet well understood. Without understanding it, most were helpless to defend against it. The death rate was ranging from 155 to 200 million worldwide of total population of 500 million nearly. Many were killed to stop the spread of disease. Blood flow treatment. It was thought that it was due to the imbalance of blood which caused the person to get sick. Medical practitioners cut into the veins and arteries, letting the blood to flow. Unfortunately, the procedure appeared to be ineffective for the victims of plague. Boil lancing. Boil lancing was another technique used as a form of treatment. It was done by using a heated sharp object for lancing the pustules. If it wasn't done, it would only increase the size and intoxicate the host due to buildup of blood and pus. Other methods such as burning various herbs or immersing the sick in vinegar or rose water was also unsurprisingly ineffective. In time, failure after failure, in attempt of self-preservation, doctors stopped accepting patients. Sometimes the bodies of the deceased remained where they had died, as there were not enough people living to bury them. During this time, the first quarantine were implemented. At that time, it was thought that infectious diseases were transmitted by bad air. So officials tried to isolate sick people and those traveling from places that had an outbreak to prevent more deaths. Quarantine helped prevent the spread of pneumonic plague between people. And finally, after a few decades, scientists discovered the bacteria and carriers behind it, which helped reduce the disease. Coming to the next topic, smallpox. Smallpox was a major cause of death in the past and killed nearly 30% of the people who had it. It is a disease caused by variola virus which starts with high fever and headache. Then small bumps full of infectious fluid appear all over the body, those are the pox, and then eventually scab turn into scars. Humans infected each other through tiny droplets, cough, sneeze through the air. But it was spread even by the pox fluid. Crusty scabs got all over the clothes and blankets could infect new hosts too. New World smallpox outbreak started in 1520. In the 20th century alone, estimates say smallpox killed at least million people around the world. Early doctors realized that smallpox survivors were protected against later outbreaks. Nearly 2000 years ago, they developed the practice of virilization, where they intentionally infected people with materials from survivor pustules scabs to give them immunity. Usually that meant scratching the scab into their arms or crushing and inhaling it. For the most part, that worked and it was much safer than contacting the disease naturally, but it still gave people many of the unpleasant symptoms, and 1 to 2% of them died. A breakthrough finally came in 1796 when an English doctor named Edward Jenner developed the smallpox vaccine, which was the first successful vaccine in history. Instead of using smallpox, Jenner's procedure used material from the cattle infected with cowpox, which is another such milder disease caused by the virus of the same family as smallpox. He found that injecting someone with cowpox disease made them immune to smallpox and called this process vaccination. In 1960s, the WHO began its global eradication campaign since vaccinating every single person would be both expensive and time consuming. Officials began containing outbreaks with the ring vaccination technique. Spanish flu. The 1918 flu pandemic, also known as the Great Flu Pandemic or Spanish flu, is considered the worst global pandemic in history, as it concentrated a high mortality in a short period of time. It is estimated that the mortality rate of the pandemic was between 10% and 20%, and that it had killed between 50 to 100 million people worldwide. Unlike other flu pandemics that primarily affected children and elderly, many of its victims were healthy young people and adults in their 20s and 40s, as well as animals such as dogs and cats. The flu began to spread at the end of World War I. The media in the countries that participated in the war were under military censorship, so they concealed the pandemic. However, Spain, being neutral, reported in the press on the new cases using names such as the fever of 3 days, the soldier of Naples, and fashionable disease. It seemed that Spain was the only country affected. This is why disease was known all over the world as the Spanish flu. The symptoms of this disease were high fever, earache, body fatigue, diarrhea, and occasionally vomiting and nose bleeding. Most of the people who died were results of secondary bacterial pneumonia, as antibiotics were not available. Some died quickly after the first symptoms appeared in as little as 2 or 3 days. Doctors at that time recommended aspirin, quinine prepared with arsenic, camphor oil, and castor oil. Some even encouraged people to smoke, thinking that inhaling smoke killed germs. An Italian scientist, Professor Sarcone, claimed to have isolated the germ that caused the disease, but time proved it was not true. The strain of the virus causing the Spanish flu wasn't discovered until 1943, and its genetic sequence was not determined until 2005. Every day, Spanish newspapers picked up on the importance of hygiene education. They also warned the patients who do not experience any symptoms, the so-called convalescents, can be focus of spread of pandemic, so they recommended keeping them 1 or 2 weeks more in isolation. The use of cloth masks became mandatory for all those performing public service work. This measure was a health recommendation to prevent the disease from spreading so easily. Restrictions were made in some public places like theaters, circuses, Workshops, factories, and public places are disinfected, and some events were suspended. By 2020, the virus had disappeared, while it won the battle against the weakest and the rest were immunized. Our next topic is cholera, caused by the bacterium Vibrio cholerae. Cholera is a severe gastrointestinal disease that causes vomiting and diarrhea. As soon as 12 hours after infection, these bacteria produce toxins that bind to the small intestine enzyme that control water secretion from the rest of the body. Specifically, the toxin makes the enzyme flood the intestine with water and leads to the dehydration so severe that it's deadly. But cholera didn't become a global problem until 19th century. Cholera caused a lot of fear wherever it went. Even today, it's a public health problem with estimated millions of cases a year and 1 lakh deaths. Nowadays, we know cholera is spread through drinking water that has been contaminated by infected feces. But when it hit England in 1830s, medicine was ruled out by the idea that disease, whether it's black plague or cholera, was caused by bad air from cops, impure people, or even from swamps. So in 1854, when a doctor named John Snow traced almost every victim of cholera outbreak in London to a single water pump, nobody really believed him. Officials removed the pump handle which kept people away from drinking that water to humor him, and new cases of cholera dropped off sharply. But people still didn't believe his ideas until local ministers set out to prove him wrong, and that failed spectacularly. His report actually ended up tracing out the outbreak. Dr. John Snow's revolutionary method to track infection pattern and find the source of an outbreak is why he is considered as the father of modern epidemiology. I would like to discuss about the current pandemic, the coronavirus outbreak. Thanks to the 50 autopsies carried out on patients who died from COVID-19, they found out that it is not pneumonia. Strictly speaking, because the virus does not kill pneumocytes of its type, but uses an inflammatory storm to create an endothelial vascular thrombosis. With the corresponding diffuse thrombosis, the lung is the most affected because it is the most inflamed. But also it produces a heart attack or stroke and many other thrombotic diseases. In fact, the protocols have left the useless antiviral therapies and have concentrated on the anti-inflammatory and anti-clotting therapies. These therapies must be done immediately, even at home, where the treatment responds very well to the patient. Later, they are less effective. In resuscitation, they are almost useless. If the Chinese had reported it, they would have invested in home therapy, not intensive care. It is a case of disseminated intravascular coagulation. So the way to combat it is with antibiotic, anti-inflammatory and anticoagulants. People go to ICUs for thrombus, generalized venous embolism, generally lupus. If this were the cases, intubation and resuscitation would be useless if thromboembolism is not resolved first. Ventilating a lung where blood does not reach is useless. In fact, 9 out of 10 die because the problem is cardiovascular, not respiratory. It is venous microthrombosis and not pneumonia that determines mortality. So what the scientific literature said, especially from China until the middle of March, was that anti-inflammatory should not be used. Now the therapy that is being used in Italy is with anti-inflammatory and antibiotics as in influenza, and the number of hospitalized patients have been reduced. Many deaths, even in their 40s, had a history of fever for 10 to 15 days, which were not adequately treated here. The inflammation destroyed everything and created the ground for the formation of thrombi. Because the main problem is not the virus but the immune reaction that destroys the cell where the virus enters. In fact, patients with rheumatic arthritis have never been admitted to COVID departments because they are on cortisone therapy, which is a great anti-inflammatory. That is the main reason why hospitalization in Italy are decreasing and it is becoming a treatable disease at home. By treating it well at home, not only hospitalization is avoided but also the risk of thrombosis. It was not easy to understand because the signs of microembolism have faded even in the echocardiogram. How did China succeed in containing the virus? First, in spite of China being the place where the coronavirus crisis started, they took agile, aggressive, and immediate steps for infectious disease control. Because China was the first where the crisis started, it had more knowledge and experience about the infectious diseases. Once reports of the virus and its spread made headlines, the government immediately took drastic measures of complete lockdown. All transportations were stopped, allowing cars with special permits. People had been blocked from entering and leaving the city of Wuhan. Those in the city have been ordered to stay home. More than 20,000 medical workers from across the country flew to Wuhan and other parts of Hubei province to help treat patients. The government built new facilities specially for patients with COVID-19 and kept corona patients isolated. China also made testing and treatment of COVID-19 free of charge. Speed is everything. All of China's effort to contain the coronavirus happened at a rapid speed, from lockdown in Wuhan going into effect to the temporary hospitals for COVID-19 patients being built from ground up in matter of days. Disinfectant used as aerosols to reduce the spread. Disinfection was carried out twice every day. These prompt steps taken by China helped containing the infectious disease and reducing the new cases to zero. The second wave started between Feb 9 and Feb 19, which touched 15,500 cases a day, reduced to zero new cases in early March. Thank you.